What is up, Survivor Thrivers? Authentically Me, Regina V, is back with another video. How are you? I hope you've been well. I hope you've been in good health. This is the second video of 2024 after a 2-month hiatus. I hope you are well. I hope you are in good health. And we are returning to It's Not You, It's Them, 30 Days of Hope and Help for the Adult Child of a Narcissist. We're just going back through to kind of see where we're at along the journey. I do recommend this book, but you can follow along with me and do your own work as we go through the video. And I'm just gonna share what my thoughts are. If you want to see the original videos that I did where I actually sat down and wrote everything out and then I will record these long videos, those videos are from like 2 years ago. Feel free to go back and watch it. And so let's get right into day 21. Let's see here. It's a little later in the day, and so I want to make sure that I get through these, but I also want to make sure that I kind of have a good pace going. If you can hear that little squeaky, that's my husband downstairs with our new little puppy dog. She's so cute. She's German Shepherd. Okay, let's get into day 21. Then at the end of this, I'll give you like a little bit of life update. I think I shared some stuff with you in the video from last week, but I'll still go ahead and share some other things with you as well. So let's get into day 21. And it says, am I one too? Ooh, I remember this one. There can be numerous lingering effects of your parents' self-absorption because your self was injured and was not allowed to be fully developed. And this is termed narcissistic wounding. That is a quote by Nina Brown, Children of the Self-Absorbed, okay? One narcissistic wounding characteristic that I see often in my clients is the conviction that if there's something wrong in any of their relationships, it must be their fault. They are so used to not airing the family's dirty laundry, instead finding ways to blame themselves, that it is instinctual for them to think this way. Not surprisingly, the most common question I am asked if they are a narcissist too. When you have been told repeatedly that you are the problem, it is second nature to think that way. I would respond with a reassuring no, primarily because of the following. 1, narcissists don't take responsibility for any problems. They don't, or they wouldn't even ask that question. And 2, narcissists don't go to therapy unless it's to completely blame another person in front of a witness. Letting responsibility rest where it belongs and moving forward is the path to healing. My thoughts on that. The quote, she always starts with great quotes, and there can be lingering effects, lingering traumas, lingering triggers from, unfortunately, well, she calls it narcissistic wounding. That is very true. We all have triggers from childhood, from our teenage years. And if you've experienced any of the things in this book, yes, there are definitely some narcissistic wounding that you have to get over, or that you have to learn how to manage. I wouldn't say get over, but manage. And so then she goes into, one narcissistic wounding characteristic that she sees often is the conviction that if something's wrong in their relationships, it must be their fault. Yes, I struggle with that at times. And like I've shared with you guys in the past, I have to mindfully work on not waking up and thinking, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? Going back over the day, yesterday, and trying to see if I said anything, out of turn to anybody. And I have to be like, no, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Yesterday is gone and passed away, never to be again. The future is unknown, and all I have right now is the present. And in the present moment, I'm okay. And nothing is wrong. Everything is right. And so, yeah, I have to make sure that I don't fall off down into that rabbit hole of what did I do? What did I say? And yes, it is from an effect from childhood, but now that I'm an adult, it's something that I have to take responsibility for and really work on and say, okay, yes, you know where that wound came from, but now you have the tools to be able to fight against that perception. or that way of being. It says they're so used to not airing the family's laundry, instead finding ways to blame themselves. That is instinctual for them to think this way. I mean, I blame myself sometimes when I overreact, or if I let an emotion take me out of my rightful mind and I say and I do things that I know I should not do. Yeah, I will be like, man, that was me. But I also I'm hyper vigilant about not allowing people to blame me for things and not take responsibility for themselves, almost to a fault. Just because I know what that feels like. And I'm like, like, what did you do too? And are you sorry too? You know, I used to be one of those people like, if it's a forced sorry, then I don't want it sorry. But now I'm like, no, you should say sorry too. And I do that to my children as well. Like, now you go and say sorry. So anyway, and then she said, not surprisingly, the most common question I am asked is if they are a narcissist too. Oh my gosh, yes, especially when having children. I know my day one subscriber, CD, when I originally did this, I believe you commented and said that you've asked yourself that question, like, when I have children, or I don't know if I want to have children because will I be a narcissist too? And with me having children, I will say, like, if I lose my temper, if, you know, I discipline them, you know, if we're out in public and I want them to stop jumping around and possibly hitting somebody's basket, or some ladies looking at my kids as they're jumping around, and I'm like, you know, I snap at them and I'm like, stop. I will overly think what I've done. And I will acknowledge if I have exhibited some narcissist traits. Okay, you can't go out like this because if somebody see you like this, it's a reflection of me and it looks like I don't do your hair. And it's just like, that's a narcissist way of being, and it makes you impatient and it makes you easily frustrated with them when they don't want to get their hair combed out because they're just going outside. And it's not about the neighbors seeing them and what they think of me as a mother. It's them going outside and enjoying themselves. So I often have to make sure that I hold that mirror up to myself. And again, all humans have a little bit of narcissism to us. All of us do. We're born that way. Like, babies are born, they don't care about your time. They don't care about your sleep. They don't care about your clothes. And even now, my kids, they don't care about my private personal space. If I'm using the bathroom and they have a question, they will come right to that door. And I don't care if it's number 1 or number 2. I have a question, it's about me. And I'll be like, can I have some privacy? Well, first I wanted to ask. So it's like, we all have these, what did they call it? Self-absorption. We all have a little bit of narcissism. We all have a little bit of ego, but it's about checks and balances. And I love how she says when a client is asking her, am I a narcissist too? She says she answers no. And she gives them 2 specific reasons why. As far as narcissistic abuse, extreme narcissism, in my opinion, narcissists don't take responsibility for any problems. They wouldn't even ask that question. If we know true narcissists, they are not going to be like, did I say something wrong? Am I the problem? I noticed that look on your face. Did I say something to offend you? Oh, I know. No, there's none of that, because they're not the problem. You're the problem, or such and such is the problem, or this situation is the problem. But they don't never look in the mirror and be like, dang, was that a problem? No. The second thing is narcissists don't go to therapy unless it's to completely blame another person in front of a witness. Never went to therapy with my narcissistic parent. I believe it was mentioned around a few years ago, and just through the text message between her, myself, and my sister, I was like, no, you're already trying to control and trying to say what you're not gonna do and all this and this and that. And so no, I've never been to therapy with my narc parent, but I don't know. And if that is something that's happened to you and you experienced to completely blame you in front of a witness, I apologize for you, You didn't deserve that. That's not fun at all to be gaslit in front of another person, especially if that therapist is not trained in narcissistic abuse. But if you are questioning yourself, whether you have children or you don't have children, am I one too? You've already answered the question by even asking yourself that, by even being reflective in that way about who you are. So let's see, the affirmation says, I allow responsibility to rest where it truly belongs and go about making my life the best it can be. She says, take a deep breath in. We're going to repeat it 2 more times. Affirmation, I allow responsibility to rest where it truly belongs and go about making my life the best it can be. I allow responsibility to rest where it truly belongs and go about making my life the best it can be. What this means to me, I'm not going to take responsibility for something that I'm not responsible for. And I allow others to carry their own responsibility too. I have no way of knowing why another person chooses to do what they do. I only know my why, and I can only control my why. But I can't take responsibility for somebody else's actions. That's not fair to me, and honestly, it's not fair to the other person, because everyone should be allowed to take responsibility for their behaviors, for their words, for their actions, because it's empowering and it develops us as adults and as human beings. So that's what that means to me. Yeah, and go about making my life the best it can be. So let's go to the journal to heal. Journal to heal, taking appropriate responsibility. Write about the following statement. If I have injured someone out of anger or frustration, I recognize and accept my responsibility for that. It often happens when I try too hard to fix the situation. This doesn't mean I'm a narcissist. However, it doesn't mean that protecting myself makes me one either. Write about this statement. So going through it this time, I don't sit down, I don't write it down, I just speak it out loud. Hopefully, when you go along with me on these videos, if you choose to watch these videos, you do this work for yourself as well. Like, we do it together. It's a together thing. So let's go through it. So it says, write about the following statement. If I have injured someone out of anger or frustration, I recognize and accept my responsibility for that. If I was writing about that, I would say absolutely. Your girl's conviction is strong, especially when I know I've done something wrong. Like, it's conviction by the Spirit, and it's me as well. You know, when I have time to reflect over, you know, a situation that led to an argument, or a situation that led to a disagreement, or just any kind of fussing, any kind of anything, usually with my husband. Being that I'm a stay-at-home mom and personal trainer, I have more time to be reflective. I have more time to pray about the situation. I have more time to journal about the situation. And when I pray about something and I'm completely transparent, I mean, you can't hide anything from God. You can't lie to him. He's all knowing, you know. So when I pray, I make sure I practice being completely authentic and completely honest about a situation, about my hurt feelings. And God is, when Jesus tells us to call him our Father, he truly, truly is a father, because when I go to him fussing about something that's happened, or a situation where I lost my temper or my control and me and my husband got into it, God always convicts me and says, but what about you? And it reminds me of, I believe it's in John, and Jesus was walking and talking, and I believe he was talking to John, and I'll put it in the description when I find it. But he was basically like, in this one, you know, he kind of didn't insinuate, but he was saying like, you'll keep living, you won't see death, or something like that to John. And Peter is like walking along with them, and then Jesus starts to address Peter, and Peter looks back and he says, well, what about him? And Jesus said, what is that to you? You follow me. And so a lot of times when I am, you know, like if it's something with my husband and I acted out of anger or frustration and we bumped heads, I'll be like, well, he did this and he makes me feel that and he did. And you know, it's like I go through all of that in prayer, like with your children. Like, I'm able to say all of those things, but then the truth of you're basically saying, well, what about him? And he did this. And God always brings it back, that scripture, to my mind when I'm getting off into that, when I'm praying about something. And he'll remind me, like, okay, what about him? You follow me. You know the right thing that you were supposed to do. You knew the thing that you shouldn't have said, that you were just in such an emotional state that you went ahead and said it anyway, out of your anger and your frustration. So I definitely take responsibility, and I will, like, the next day, or I try to wait or something like that. I'll call my husband if, you know, I was in the wrong, and I'll be like, I was sorry I said that. Or I'm sorry I was fussing or something. Like, you know, I don't have a problem with saying I'm sorry and asking for forgiveness. I think that's one of my personality traits, or one of my gifts from God, is being able to be humble, and just say, like, I was wrong, please forgive me. And that's what we're instructed to do by Jesus. You know, after he tells us the Lord's Prayer, you know, he tells us to forgive one another, like your Father in heaven forgives you. And so me going to another person and saying, can you forgive me for this, especially when I know I was in the wrong, I don't think that makes me weak. I think that makes me incredibly strong. And I do think it's a gift, because of my life experiences. I know that that's not easy for some people to do. So the next thing it says, it often happens when I try too hard to fix a situation. This is true, both in my spousal relationship and also in my family relationship. When I try too hard to fix something, it has led to anger and frustration. And it was really me having these. I'll share a little bit, but I had a recent situation where I had to finally say, you and I are done. And it didn't come out in a calm way. Like, I didn't use any explicitives. I didn't cuss anybody out, but it was a microaggression. And it was because I was trying too hard to have these fond feelings and this fond experience between this person. And what I was getting from them was just very dry, very inauthentic. And I was just like, you know what? I see it for what it is. And I see that you're intentionally trying to hurt me. And I've known for a while that you've had a problem with me. And we're both grown adults, and you've told every other person but me about this problem that you have with me. And because of our familial relationship, I let it go on for far too long, because in my big old age, my grown age, my big old age, like my niece likes to say, I'm 41. And if I have a problem with someone, I'm going to go to them and say what that problem is. And a lot of times I end up not having a problem with people once I pray about it and I see, like, oh, maybe you just were triggered or this or that. But we too grown out here to be having issues with people and not telling them what your issues are with them. There is a way to have positive conflict. It doesn't always have to lead to an argument or a falling out. So, you know, I reached out to that person. I got the dry response back, just trying too hard to fix something. And then I was just like, we're done. I see what you're doing here, and we're done, you know? So this doesn't mean I'm a narcissist, however, and it doesn't mean that protecting myself makes me one either. I definitely agree, after being, you know, letting that person know, like, we're done, I had to pray about it a lot. And I had to acknowledge my hurt. I had to acknowledge anger. I had to acknowledge sadness, like grief. And I really had to pray and be like, did I do the right thing? And as I was praying, it was like a back and forth of praying and making statements and praying and making statements. And I finally came to the realization that it's my job to protect myself from abusive people. And if I took away the family title or the familial relationship, this is not a person that I would feel is safe to be around or safe to have my family around. Knowing the things that I know about this person and just honestly looking at it, like even if there was circumstances and situations that I didn't know about, my personal experience with this person has not been a protected one or a safe one. It has been inauthentic. It has been filled with lies. It has been a situation where, again, I knew you had a problem with me because I could sense it. Because I could see the look on your face when you saw me before you were able to flip that switch and turn on that. If you know, you know. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. For those of us that are empaths and things like that, you can sense it, you can feel it, it's a vibe, you can even see it. And there's that millisecond when you see someone seeing you before they realize you're seeing them, and there's this look, and it just flips once they realize you're looking, at them in their eyes. And there was that, and then there was just the knowing that you're telling everybody but me that you have a problem. That is not a safe person, because you're able to harbor bad feelings towards someone while being able to be around them and pretend like everything's fine. And to this person, I would be, when I would see them and they would be looking like that, I'd be like, what's wrong? Oh, my stomach hurt. Oh, my head hurt. No, I mean, what's wrong? But if you want to keep it on a superficial, childlike level of I'm asking you physically what's wrong, no, I'm asking you what's wrong. So that's what that means to me. It never makes you a narcissist to protect yourself and to keep yourself safe. Just always remember to operate in who you are as a person. Never bring yourself down below who you know you should be. And if you do, act out of anger and frustration, don't be too hard on yourself. Acknowledge it. See where that anger switch came from. See what flipped it. See what got you triggered, and acknowledge it. Journal about it. Pray about it. Ask God to show you how to do it better the next time a situation like that comes around, because we're always going to be put in uncomfortable situations, and we're always going to experience different things as human beings because we have to coexist with each other. So don't be super hard on yourself. Also, don't work too hard to fix a situation that may be broken for a reason. I love that quote that says, people's rejection is God's protection. But if you keep trying to force a relationship or force a situation, then you're not protecting yourself, and you're not allowing that rejection to be God's protection. So I always say, if there's ever a circumstance or a situation or a person or event that you're on the fence about, that you're feeling anxious about, that you're feeling nervous about, that you just are like, I don't want to be around this person, pray about it. Especially if it's a situation where you have to be around someone that makes you feel unsafe, that makes you feel nervous. Pray about it. Ask God to help you. He will help you. He loves you. He knows your why. He understands you. I love Hagar when she's out and she's running away from Sarah, and the angel of the Lord comes to her and he's like, Hagar, where are you going? And she says, my mistress is mistreating me. And he tells her to go back. But what I love about that is the quote where she says, have I now seen the living one who sees me? God sees you. There's so many scriptures in New Testament where Jesus embodies seeing her, seeing him, noticing. He notices you. He sees you. You're known to him. So everything that makes you who you are, he understands, and he knows, and he's not mad at, and he doesn't push you beyond what you can bear. He says that. I'll never let temptation take you beyond what you can bear, but I will always provide a way out. He is a loving Father who understands you. So going forward, if you're worried about a person, worried about a situation, again, pray to him about it. Open your heart. Let him see what's in there. Anything you've been hiding, even if you're angry at God. I had to go through that. I had to be honest. Be like, I'm angry. He gives us our emotions. He understands where they come from. He's not your mother. He's not your father. Like David said, my little puppy crying. Like David said, though my father and my mother forsake me, which means give up on me, the Lord will take care of me. And I have to remind myself of that too. God, my Father in heaven, is nothing like my earthly father or mother. His love is unconditional. His love is constant. He is faithful even when we are faithless. So that's what I think about day 21. Thank you guys so much for rocking with the channel. Thank you to all the new subscribers who have decided to go along this journey with us. Again, if you are interested in going on your own journey with this book, I really recommend it. As long as, finding a therapist that is educated in narcissistic abuse. But this book is a really safe way to help you go through a journey of healing without having a grudge, without overly blaming someone for our adult decisions. And it's a really safe place. It's a really safe place for you to really look back and go through some situations that may have wounded you, and it gives you an opportunity to find ways to heal. And I think she's in Texas. Yeah, adult Texan Rockwell counseling. Maybe look her up, Debbie Tudor. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I recommend it, and I appreciate your support. Every view lets me know that I'm sharing something with you that maybe you're interested in, and maybe it's helping you along your journey. Again, I want to shout out CV, my day 1 subscriber. Thank you for all of your comments. They're so relatable. They're so funny. I think I say that all the time, but I always look forward to seeing your comments, and I always know that based on your comments, I always know that you get what I'm trying, picking up what I'm putting in. And I appreciate you for that. As always, make sure you find an opportunity to get out there and get after whatever your get after is. If you are able to get after it, I love you. God loves you so much more.